Okay, let's just jump right into this explainer because if you've got a reef tank, you already know clownfish are absolute icons. But getting them to actually bond and, breed, well, that can feel like a total mystery sometimes. So we're going to use some incredible expert insights from Saltwater Reef Co. to demystify the real-world science behind this. We are breaking down the exact biological rules and those hidden environmental triggers you absolutely need for a successful spawn.
So, kicking things off chronologically, we really have to ask the most fundamental question here. How do these guys actually find a mate? Because let me tell you, it is absolutely not as simple as just dropping a boy and a girl into a tank and hoping they set the mood. No way. Their entire social structure is actually built around this highly specific and honestly pretty surprising set of biological rules. And right here is where the biology gets totally wild. See, many clownfish species are what's called protandrous hermaphrodites. Basically, forget everything you learned from the animated movies. Seriously, if Finding Nemo were biologically accurate, Marlin would have literally turned into a female. In the real world, social dominance entirely dictates their physical sex. The absolute largest, most dominant individual in a group transforms into the breeding female, and the smaller mate she eventually accepts, he functions as the male. It's a completely hierarchy-driven process, and honestly, breeding is just flat out impossible until this intense dominance is firmly locked in. Because of this super intense hierarchy, so many beginners make the disastrous mistake of trying to force two mature adults together. And yeah, it almost always ends in a ton of aggression. So the easiest, most highly recommended pathway to success is actually to just source two healthy juveniles, put them in the same system, and let them pair up naturally. By starting them young, you let them naturally battle it out. One is going to grow larger, assert dominance, and become the female, while the other one kind of just submits and becomes the male. It's really just a matter of letting nature take its course. But hey, fair warning here, and this is absolutely crucial, pair bonding requires immense patience. Why? Because it is incredibly sensitive to any kind of disruption. If you're constantly mixing in new fish, or even just rearranging your rockwork and decor all the time, you are going to ruin their progress. They heavily rely on spatial familiarity to maintain their rank. If you change up the environment, they basically have to figure out who the boss is all over again, which totally stalls any chance of breeding. So introduce the juveniles, step back, and keep your hands completely out of the tank. Okay, so once you've let them settle in, how do you actually know it's working? Well, you'll know the matchmaking was successful when all that aggression finally stops, and you start seeing these really stable, cooperative behaviors pop up. You want to look for coordinated swimming, actually moving together, rather than one just constantly fleeing the other. You'll also start to notice gentle maintenance behaviors and way less chasing. But the ultimate green light, that's when they stop fighting each other entirely and start fiercely defending a shared territory together. Now, when it comes to setting up the nursery, a lot of novice aquarists fall right into a classic trap. As humans, we kind of obsess over visual aesthetics, right? We want to create the perfect-looking tank with fancy live anemones and these intricate rock layouts. But the fish, they honestly care way more about invisible stability. Clownfish breeding responds best to absolute consistency. We're talking rock-solid temperature, stable salinity, and totally pristine water quality. So many spawns fail simply because the water parameters are swinging too much. So definitely prioritize your filtration over your interior decorating skills. But, they obviously still need somewhere to lay those eggs. Surprisingly, though, you really don't even need a live anemone to succeed. I mean, yes, anemones are their natural hosts, but just providing a secure, low-disturbance spawning surface is often more than enough. Actually, a lot of successful breeders just use a standard ceramic tile or even a cheap terracotta pot tucked right under the rockwork. The whole goal here is simply to give them a safe, quiet spot where the pair can claim their territory and feel totally secure guarding their clutch. And once they've claimed that territory, the spawning cycle turns into this highly predictable, chronological routine. It's really cool to watch. In week 1, it's all about locking down that specific spot. Then, by week 2, you're going to observe some intense cleaning behavior. They'll literally be biting and picking at the rock to get the surface perfectly prepared. Moving into week 3, that's when they lay the eggs in these very carefully organized batches. And finally, by week 4, both partners are going to be fiercely guarding the clutch, constantly fanning it with their pectoral fins just to keep everything oxygenated. Of course, let's be real, nature rarely goes perfectly on the very first try.
If your spawning attempts stall out, there are usually a few primary culprits you should look for. Things like persistent bullying from aggressive tank mates or sudden temperature swings. Those will instantly ruin a clutch. Also, if you're seeing frequent fighting, or if the parents repeatedly eat or destroy their own eggs early on, you need to treat that as a giant flashing warning sign. It's a huge indicator that you need to step in and adjust either the water stability or the overall social dynamics in the tank. Now, assuming everything goes right and you get eggs, we officially reach the final boss of our journey. And the experts at Saltwater Reef Co. offer a pretty stark warning right about here. Even when those eggs successfully hatch, actually raising the clownfish fry is a massive next challenge. Keeping those newly hatched larvae alive requires some serious, meticulous planning. You absolutely have to have microscopic live foods ready to go, along with incredibly careful water management. Honestly, it is a massive step up from just keeping adult fish alive. That's exactly why so many hobbyists choose to focus purely on achieving a healthy spawn long before they ever attempt to actually rear the fry. So before you set out to tackle what is arguably the absolute hardest part of this hobby, you really have to take a hard look at your own dedication. Look, just getting your clownfish to pair up and lay eggs, that is an incredible achievement on its own. It proves you've built a thriving reef ecosystem. But the second those tiny larvae hatch into the water column, a whole new level of commitment begins. So ask yourself, are you content simply enjoying these fascinating natural behaviors right in your living room? Or are you truly ready to sacrifice your sleep and a whole lot of free time to become a full-time marine nursery?